Grade 7 Narrative Writing Mock, page 199 in Performance Coach. Finding the words. Jake Washington and Joel Mitchell grew up next door to each other in a high-rise apartment building in New York City. They had a lot in common. They were the same age and had been classmates since pre-kindergarten. They played the same school sports and liked the same music. Sometimes the two boys even finished each other's sentences, as if they were reading each other's minds. They were more like brothers, or maybe close cousins, than just neighbors and classmates. So when Joel asked Jake if he could borrow $20, Jake didn't think twice about opening his wallet and giving his friend his last two $10 bills. Joel thanked Jake before taking the money, shoving it into the back pocket of his jeans and promising to pay it back the following day. That was 2 weeks ago. Jake suspected that Joel had forgotten all about the debt. The problem was, Jake needed that $20 today to pay his share of an expensive gift he and his older sister Vanessa had picked up for their parents' 20th wedding anniversary. The antique brass candlesticks they had selected at a fancy store would be held for them only until this afternoon at 5 o'clock. Jake knew he shouldn't have left this to the last minute. He had just kept hoping that Joel would miraculously remember the borrowed $20 and pay it back without needing a reminder. Now Jake realized that wishful thinking was not a very reliable method of getting your best friend to repay a loan. In addition, so much time had already elapsed that Jake felt uncomfortable about bringing up the subject of the borrowed $20. Just ask him, Vanessa said in a matter-of-fact voice. The two siblings were sitting together eating breakfast. It's not such a huge deal, you know. Just tell him you need the money to buy a present for mom and dad, and you need it now, not tomorrow or next week. He'll understand. He's like your best friend. One part of Jake knew that his sister was right. It didn't need to be a big deal, and Joel would understand. But another part of Jake felt paralyzed, like in one of those dreams where you want to run away from something scary, but your legs just won't move. Jake finished his cereal and said goodbye to his sister. Then he grabbed a jacket and his school book bag as he left the apartment to walk to school. Even though it felt incredibly awkward, Jake had to figure out some way to ask Joel to pay back the money. He knew he had to do it today. He hoped Joel had the money handy. As he walked, Jake tried to come up with a strategy, a way to remind Joel about the loan without seeming too pushy. Jake remembered participating in role-playing exercises at school, where students pretended to be someone else to better see another person's point of view. While Jake waited for the traffic light to turn red, he thought about how he might start a conversation with Joel about the borrowed money and how Joel might respond. "Hey, Joel," he might begin. "Can I have the $20 you owe me?" No, thought Jake, that seems too abrupt. Maybe it would be better to bring the topic up in a more roundabout way. "Hey, Joel, how's it going? Do you want to play basketball later? Oh, and could you bring that 20 you owe me?" Jack thought that was a bit more casual, but it still felt and sounded clumsy. The light turned green, and Jake hurried the rest of the way to school so he wouldn't be late. Joel and Jake had a different block of classes that morning, so Jake didn't run into Joel until lunch, and Joel seemed to be in a rush. "Gotta eat and run," he told Jake with his mouth full. "But I need to talk to you about." Jake wanted to articulate at least some of what he had planned to say out loud to Joel, to at least open the topic, but Joel interrupted him. Write your response on the loose leaf paper. You can plan your response here, but only work written on the paper will be graded. Use details from the passage to write an original continuation of finding the words that tells what happens when Jake is finally able to talk to Joel. Make sure you use narrative elements such as sensory language, pacing, transitional words, and dialogue to convey the events of your conclusion in a logical and interesting way. Also, make sure the characters and the point of view are consistent with the rest of the passage. You may plan your narrative in the space below. Write your narrative on the loose leaf pages.